Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So first of all, just like to welcome you all, and we've had to deal with a few obstacles to get here together, but it is here we are, and that's quite wonderful. And also just to wish, for some people, wish you all a happy new year, and because it's already New Year in Malaysia, Singapore, where you are broadcasting from. Here in California, it's just after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so we're starting our New Year's Eve, and people in the UK, they've just passed midnight, and it's just start the new year. So around the world, it's all different, and that is it's kind of wonderful to be able to share a space that is kind of straddling all these time zones and physical space, and being able to reach out with Dhamma as the kind of glue or the connecting tissue of it. So it's a wonderful opportunity, and we'll have 3 full days to be able to explore Dhamma practice as we begin the new year. And certainly the opportunity to begin the new year taking refuges and precepts, just really being able to reflect on Buddhadhamma Sangha as our refuge, and to be able to have that sense of having a place where the heart can rest or can land, and feel a sense of safety, security, and that's especially in this certainly this past year, with a global pandemic, and as we go into the new year, and we might have a new year, but I don't think that's going to make the pandemic just go away magically. We're going to be dealing with it for a while, and we're going to need to be returning to our refuge and know where our refuge is. It's so, on a certain level, it's incredibly simple, basic, but it is also tremendously essential to have this refuge of wisdom, of the Buddha, the truth that the Buddha taught, and the presence of Sangha in terms of community that we can turn to, rely on, and having the lay community, monastic community, supporting each other. This is how we can how we get by and not just survive, but thrive. When we have a real refuge, then we do have an opportunity to really thrive and find, say, what Ajahn Chah calls our real home. Having this internal refuge that is not easily shaken. So to give that gift to ourselves as we begin the new year, and to give that gift to others in the sense of when we have a solid refuge. So when we have a solid refuge, then we're able to be a presence for others, and other people have a sense of safety and security as well. So that as we begin this new year, with people from all around the globe, and just reflecting on the constructed nature of time, that we really, so it's already New Year's in Malaysia. It's not New Year's yet here. These are constructs, and time in particular is very much a construct that is built up according to our perceptions. This morning at Abhayagiri, Ajahn Yaniko gave morning reflection, and he was reflecting that last year he and I were at Wat Banana Chat in Thailand, and entered the new year there. There was a New Year ceremony at Wat Banana Chat, and when he mentioned that or said that, it was like, my gosh, that just seemed like an eternity ago. It seemed just so far in the distant past, it's how you feel. I mean, some things that maybe happened 10 years ago, somebody might have said something that was uncomfortable or something, and you think of it, and it was 10 years ago, but it seems really fresh. Something that say just happened only 1 year ago, which was very beautiful, and doing entering the rain, or entering the new year at Wat Banana Chat with all the Sangha lay community there, in a place that I've known for so long. It was very touching, moving, but I've almost forgotten about it, and it just seems so far in the distance. So it's that's just the constructed nature of time, and part of the say in terms of practice and beginning our practice, yeah, things like time are worthy of reflection, and how we relate to it, how we worry about it, how we get, say, anxious about it, or how we get obsessed with it. How much time do we have? And much of what we say, how we relate to our engagement with the world and other people. We don't even reflect on what that sense of how we're perceiving time. We tend to sort of, I've got to do this, or we've got to get this, needs to be done, or this event is happening, or that thing didn't get done, and we get swept up in that. We easily easily forget, and that sense of when we're pressed with time. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to meditate. I don't have enough time to do this. I don't have enough time to get this job done, or I don't have enough time to get to the next thing that needs to be done. Then we tend to miss everything. We tend to not even notice what's happening around us, and particularly in things. Recently, I came across an experiment that somebody did in 2007. It was done in Washington, D.C., and they had a world-class violinist, Joshua Bell, American, come and do a performance, but in the Washington subway station. And he went, and this was dressed ordinarily. His violin was not ordinary. It was like a $3.5 million Stradivarius. So it was and he had spent about 45 minutes playing, exceptional classical pieces, and he is an exceptional musician. He had just, about 2 days before, he'd just filled a concert hall with people, and and he played these beautiful pieces by Bach and Schubert, and nobody had the time to listen. It was just, people were too busy. They had to get to where they were going, and I mean the concert that he'd done and filled a whole concert hall full of people. The cheapest seats were like $100, and so I mean he did his playing in the subway station and put his hat out for donations. He managed to make $32 that day. And people couldn't pay attention. They're too busy. What was really interesting, that who the people whose attention was grabbed, because they set up a camera, like a hidden camera, to be able to see it. And there was one or two people who actually really did stop a bit, but the children were the ones who really, it grabbed their attention and stopped, because it was obviously something special happening. And of course the parents just dragged them on and pulled them away. But that sense of time, and so much of it is that, you know, I need to get to where I'm going. I need to do what I need to do. I need to, and we forget to factor in, oh, what's important? And of course, what's really important is, how do I establish a refuge? How do I live with a true refuge? How do I make a refuge come alive in my life? How do the refuges of Buddhadhamma and Sangha come alive in my life? And similarly with precepts, there's with the precepts, and then it's how do I make them relevant? So like for we as a part of the say retreat format, we've taken the 8 precepts, and I think for those people who are comfortable and familiar enough with the practice and the precepts, starting the year with taking on just 8 precepts and being able to focus with the meditation and the simplicity of that, that is it's a great opportunity. For those who aren't familiar or aren't so comfortable, then a lot of it is just picking up the spirit of the precepts, in the sense of like the little blessing that I chanted at the end, Silena Sugatinyante, so that sila is virtue. Sila is, the form is the precepts, but the essence is the virtue and the integrity. So just picking up that essence of of virtue, of integrity, beginning the year with a sense of commitment to having that clarity of conduct of body and speech, because that affects the mind, and then that picking up as one can, and trying to experiment with it and see what's useful, what's helpful, what helps the heart to be supported. It's interesting that the word in English, say virtue, has its old, its ancient root, has the meaning or connotation of like a force, strength, vigor, and that in establishing virtue, we bring a certain, say, gravity or weight in our of kind of something that has some force or strength or vigor in our hearts and in our life, and that's really helpful, because we need whatever props we can get And the props are really important. In a similar way, that story of say of the violinist, it's all, it's like, it's not just sort of time, I'm rushed, I can't listen to it. It's also context. So that sense of like having a concert violinist playing in a subway station is somehow, there's not really, the context doesn't quite sort of resonate somehow, or it doesn't grab us, or so that the context of how we perceive something is really important. So similarly, for our own practice, we have to learn how to create the context, or giving the supporting conditions and the props to help shore up the strength or the vigor in our practice. Precepts is certainly one of them. Contact with good spiritual friends is another. And say this past year of pandemic, people have not been able to have so much social contact, have not been able to go to either the monasteries or the Buddhist centers or the Buddhist groups, meditation groups that one has as support. But online communities have actually kind of really started to thrive, and having say a retreat like what we are doing now is a great support. And these are the props. These are the things to help create a context to bring a continuity in our living the Dhamma, living our Buddhist practice, having the supporting conditions that really help us. So that's a important aspect. And then reflecting on the ways that we can be bringing the Dhamma into our life with a certain continuity or steadiness. This is on a certain level, this is the timeless nature of the Dhamma as well. In that, I started sort of reflecting on time and the constructed nature of it. But this is an aspect that the sense of the Dhamma being timeless, being akaliko, and that doesn't have to turn into some esoteric reflection on the nature of time and being and whatnot. It's more the sense of the truth is always the truth, as it's not bound by time. It's not. It doesn't have a time stamp on it. It doesn't have a due date that it's going to expire. This is when we do something that's really skillful and wholesome, it brightens the heart. It is something that happens all the time. So that just learning how to keep plugging into that, and it's something that sense of akaliko, santitiko. It's apparent here and now. We can experience that right now. We don't have to wait for for some way distant future when we finally do get our practice together and it all the all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas sort of make it all happen for us. This is an opportunity to experience. This is the nature of Dhamma. This is the nature of practice. This is the nature of goodness. It feels good. It feels peaceful. It feels bright. It feels spacious. It feels open. This is the nature of the Dhamma. But it's also another quality of this open-ego. We have to leading inwards. We have to keep drawing it into the heart. The nature, the tendency or habit of mind is, we tend to go out, sort of those outflows going out into the world, the outflows going out into our moods, and we get entangled and we get complicated. We get complicated, the world gets complicated, and we suffer. So it's a sense of okay, this is to be understood for ourselves as nature of the Dhamma, as we chant that sense of pacetang veditapo vinyuhi, to be experienced individually by the wise, or for each wise person for themselves. I mean, this is the nature of this of the Buddha's teachings, so that reflecting on it, contemplating it, and that sense of bringing it into the present moment, and bringing it into something that is is rather simple, rather straightforward, and I think of Ajahn Chah and how much he kept emphasizing to be the knowing, to be the one who knows. Just keep return. We have this capacity to know. That is the nature of the mind. To be that knowing. It's easy to get sidetracked and obsessed and to complicate things in a sense of either projection or getting caught up in our moods or habits. But underneath all that, there is this quality of knowing. And you can't actually, as long as you're reasonably, your faculties are more or less there, you can't really shut that off. It's just to sit for just to take a second to just sort of, can I just stop knowing for a minute? And you can't. That's the nature of the mind. We get sidetracked, we get obsessed, but underneath that, if we just stop, you realize the knowing is there, and that is your doorway back into peace, back into having a refuge. So that Ajahn Chah would keep just be the one who knows, be that quality of knowing, be the knower, and without creating an identity, without creating a projection. It's just that quality of knowing. And it's peaceful, it's clear, it's steady. That is where our refuges. That's where our true home is. Again, as Ajahn Chah says, our real home. This is that's the foundation. But it does take. We inevitably we have to keep reminding ourselves, and of course that's why doing retreats, it's to remind ourselves. I'll take 3 days to be teaching, and you'll listen to various teachings, and there's probably not going to be anything that I say that you don't already know already. But it's a matter of reminding people what is important, reminding us of what is hey, what's our true capacity. Yeah, we're able to have a refuge. We're able to be embody a sense of wisdom, compassion, of purity. We all have that capability, that possibility. That's reminding us to keep returning to that. And coming back to that simplicity of knowing. Luang Por Pasanno used to, this is some years ago, and for several years, when he began a teaching, he would to begin by yesterday is a memory, tomorrow is the unknown, now is the knowing. And it's that simple recognition. Yeah, whatever happened in the past, whatever happened, that is a memory. The past, yesterday is a memory. The past, whatever was in the past, it's a memory. Memories sometimes are reliable, sometimes are not so reliable. It's still a memory. The future, it's unknown. Tomorrow is an unknown quantity. We can project, we can hope, we can fear, we can anticipate, but it is still unknown and unknowable. It's still in the future. But now, this present moment, now is the knowing. This is where we can be clear. This is where we can experience things with a sense of steadiness, a purpose, and with our refuge. So that returning to this quality of the knowing. So this helps to keep, of course, the Buddhist teachings are amazing tools with all sorts of extraordinary and great techniques and methods, but underlying it all is a simplicity. There is a simplicity, and that the access point is this quality of knowing. Now is the knowing. And when we start to in out, when we start to get worried, when we start to get frustrated, returning to that quality of knowing, bringing our attention and our heart back to the knowing. Be the one who knows, and be the knower. And it's that simplicity that is it's a real gift to it's a real gift to ourselves, and it's just so important to keep simplifying. There's in the San Francisco Bay Area, one of the early Buddhist teachers was a Zen teacher, Suzuki Roshi, and he taught and he established a center in San Francisco. He set up a couple places. They all still exist today. And his students carry on his tradition. He taught in the, mainly in the 1960s. He passed away very early 1970s. And, but anyway, he was, as he was getting older, then he had he tried to get people to come and help him. He had a young Zen priest come from Japan to help with the teaching and help with the duties. And this young Zen priest was he was trained, he had an education, and he came to help. But then after a few weeks, he came to Suzuki Roshi and complained and just confessed how frustrated he was that he couldn't really teach properly because he didn't have enough language, and he was having difficulty trying to make it all work and trying. He was, of course, it was all new to him teaching in San Francisco Bay Area in the late 60s or early 70s. It must have been a real culture shock. But how he expressed it was he had just, he didn't have enough language to be able to express the Dhamma, to teach the Dhamma properly, and so he was getting very discouraged. So then the next day, Suzuki listened to it, and hard to know what he said. I don't. But anyway, the next day, the Suzuki Roshi himself went into the meditation hall, into the Dhamma hall, where the assembly was gathered, and then he got up onto the Dhamma seat, and then he sat for a little while, just composed his mind, put his hands in Anjali, and then he said, "Today is today." And then he sat quietly for a little while. I'm not sure how long, kind of a long pause. And then, "Today is not yesterday." And then he sat quietly long pause. Today is not tomorrow. Another long pause. Hands are antali. Today is today. Another long pause. And he paid his respects and to the shrine, and then went out. That was his Dhamma teaching. And then he talked with the priest after. He said, to teach the essence of the Dhamma, the essence of Zen, it doesn't require a lot of words. 5 words, it was enough. And so it's that simplicity. So now is the knowing. Now is the knowing. It's that simplicity. And of course we think, that can't be enough. There must be more to it than that. And of course, it's true. But also, one has to know how to let everything else go and rest in the knowing. Rest in clarity. Rest in awareness. Rest in peace. And of course that's what as I said, the props, the conditions, the circumstances, the refuges, the precepts, the different meditation techniques, they're all for helping to support this sense of awareness, of mindfulness, of clarity, of knowing. But we have to remind ourselves, we have to remember, so that as Ajahn Chah said, just be the one who knows. So I'll offer that for reflection, and we will. There was a request for me to do a guided meditation after this.